With each successive Monogods DLC, the Beastmen have been getting stronger and stronger as a unit or two is added each time. Pestigors are certainly a great tool for the Beastmen to have in their arsenal, giving you a sort of mid-tier armor-piercing infantry with poison and plenty of unit models against a faction like Cathay that has great anti-large infantry. It's pretty useful to have. I mean, Beastmen certainly don't have a lack of anti-large, but generally most of their, anti-armor armor-piercing units, obviously. Most of them are large. They don't have very much armor-piercing infantry. Bestigors are not very cost-effective, especially against Grand Cathay, but Pestigors, on the other hand, can be. They can get in there quite cheaply and get some work done, and you can see that its current year, the Beastman player has been able to take a super wide army. He's got Malagor for a relatively cheap, powerful caster in the air, lots of spearman herds, no Centaurs of Tzeentch. He's respecting the marks of chaos, even though they haven't been implemented actually in the unit caps. I think it is in the fruit rules already, but basically just works just like Warriors of Chaos. You get 4 marks you can use on whatever. Centaurs of Tzeentch obviously count as Tzeentch, so just regular anti-armor Centaurs here with great weapons and some regular Centaurs as well, plenty of raiders. And that's pretty much it, just to mix all those units up against this Cathayan box formation here. You can see the Vanguard has brought them quite quickly into range. We've got Jade Lancers protecting the flanks, Righteous Lances of Wage In up in the air. Looks like some more Jade Lancers here in the front. The Onyx Crowmen, one of them, and the Regiment of Renown as well. So a little bit of mobility to try and punch out and attack isolated high-value targets. 3 Iron Hails for some range support, Peasant Long Spears, and Jade Warriors. Being that the Jade Warriors are up front, there's no problem for the Bestigors to just charge straight up the pipe. I mean, not that they would really care too much about charging like spears or halberds anyway, but shotguns open fire and are going to do some damage, but just the volume of Beastmen here is going to be something that'll be tough for Cathay to deal with. You can see the infantry making contact there. And Beastmen infantry, Pestigors in particular, right? That high charge bonus definitely does help. These Jade Warriors do not have their charge resistance up quite yet, full charge resistance, so they are going to take a good amount of damage on that charge as we kind of pull up the health bars all across the field and look. You can see that that Tears of Nurgle also goes off immediately on those Iron Hails as they rout. Another huge boon of the Pestigors that will allow these Ungol Raiders to get in there and shut them down pretty effectively. You can see the mobility components of Cathay are trying to go out and hit those archers as much as they can, but its current year has some Centaurs in protection position, ready to countercharge any units that come down from the sky. Has a nice envelopment coming on as well. Starting to pull some of these units out of position, like if you can get these spears here, that's going to potentially create a gap where you can get back after these ranged units, but some Centaurs being eaten up on the flanks there by Jade Lancers and Onyx Crowmen to be expected. But the infantry fight should go very well for the Beastmen, especially with Ungol Raiders peppering in some arrows here on those Peasant Long Spears. Righteous Lances are going to get Might of Heaven and Earth, quite the weapon damage buff, plus magic flaming damage as they charge in. They're just going to murderize those Centaurs. Man, some absolutely substantial damage. Of course, the Onyx Crowmen as well. Fighting, doing a decent job holding off the Centaurs. Centaurs are definitely a strong and dangerous unit, but still quite squishy, and here having some problems operating against all this Cathay mobility. They're able to manage the mobility of the Beastmen relatively well. While that's happening, though, this infantry fight is just continuing to go more and more poorly. Bestigors now basically in a full surround as my camera kind of jitters around. Apologize about that. In the front line, trying to get a full envelopment on these Jade Warriors. Jade Warriors can at best just hope to lose slowly here and buy enough time for the rest of these mobile units to get in. But some nice opportunities for Flocks of Doom. You can see Malagor hasn't really been pressured too much himself. He's able to just keep flying around, cackling and casting and accruing value as he does. Let's see, so far, yeah, about 800 value on those with just the Flocks of Doom. Of course, he's also got Doom and Darkness, it looks like, as well. Yep, so he can do some leadership debuffs, potentially try and bomb out some units here. And we do see some Cathay units starting to shatter. It looks like those Onyx Crowmen are also going to pop there, so yeah, Cathay definitely taking some losses here, but still also looks like trying to punch back as these archers in the back line get isolated. Empress Crowmen start to swing in there and make their presence felt. Nice continuous Flocks of Doom, plus the SD boys. Gonna be quite a handful for these Cathay and Peasant Spearmen to deal with. See in the front line there, yeah, the Pestigors end up just basically trading 1v1, even though damage value-wise it wouldn't appear, yeah, they maybe didn't quite fully kill the unit. And granted, they are a little bit more expensive than Jade Warrior's base cost, so it's a decently cost-effective trade, but just as a generalist support unit here. I mean, they're great for running down archers, they've got the speed, they're kind of like similar in some ways to White Lions, just in their, like, multitude of utilities, right? Great for supporting cavalry fights, decent for kind of a frontline charge into armored infantry as long as they're not too tanky. They're great for, you know, attacking the flanks, obviously. That kind of debuff is quite nice as well. Obviously, they don't have the tankiness that something like White Lions has, but just the sort of general utility of being good in a lot of different engagements. Pestigors do shine there considerably, so great addition for both Nurgle and Beastmen, to be honest. But some guns opening up on the horde of Pestigors there as they try and charge on through. You have some backline Centaurs as well, still active, also trying to get on those shotguns. They do take a few losses there on that charge, but manage to make contact still. Righteous Lances of Wagen also still alive, but Cathay definitely on the back foot, as a lot of their units have been routed off, and Beastmen still with quite a few Ungol Raiders decently healthy. Pestigors also, basically all of them still alive, even though one of them is pretty close. It's good stuff, great value for sure. Righteous Lance is going to try and continue seeing these archers off, which is definitely an interesting call. I mean, I get not wanting to charge the Pestigors necessarily, but another Flock of Doom there from Malagor. Another, yeah, Jade Shield, just try and shrug off a little bit of that damage. You can see those Pestigors doing what they do. Gonna charge in the rear here and support this engagement. Route these units off, potentially. It looks like the Tears of Nurgle did not pop on them, even though they are now wavering. Must have already gone off for these units, most likely. Yeah, use is down to 0. It only goes off once per, so, you know, sometimes it can pop a little bit early on in the battle. Yeah, none of these ones still have it at this late stage, so it's not going to be a factor here, but Doom and Darkness nonetheless, going to try and get their leadership off. Pestigors, honestly, visually, I am quite pleased with how they look. Zangor's whole beaks controversy was a thing, and I'm sure there's some people who could see some improvement, room for improvement. There's always room for improvement, but honestly, just the general aesthetic of, like, having the hoods and kind of dirty and grimy, and some of them having, like, one weird horn. I don't know, all these boils, and just, to me, they look very Nurgle appropriate. But they also look very Beastmen. I don't know. I think they did a good job with the art. That's what I'm trying to say. But Malagor also did a good job just juking, cutting, and running, trying to stay away from the Dragon-Blooded Shogun and the Righteous Lances. Let's fast forward a little bit as he makes his final stand. Probably just hard land here, yep, and go straight into the Pestigors there. Just get some support, a little bit of Doom and Darkness, and that's going to be game as the Cathay player hands in the towel. It's definitely a fun and interesting one. Nice to not see just spam of Centaurs with Tzeentch. Instead, we see the non-Tzeentchian Great Weapon Centaurs, and they definitely get owned. I mean, the barrier helps them a lot, as does the magic damage and other traits of the Centaur of Tzeentch. The regular Great Weapons are still decent, though, in the right circumstance, but the Pestigors, yeah, again, don't necessarily pay for themselves in raw damage gold value. They get pretty good damage overall, but like 200 plus kills, 150 on this one, up to 100 on this one, you know, 10,000 damage dealt almost on 3 of them. So that's actually very good just for an overall kind of DPS, needing to cut through all of this chaff and kind of very cost-effective, lower value infantry that Cathay can bring. The Pestigors excelled in that use case, it seems. So good stuff. Glad to see the Pesty Boys being useful not only for Nurgle, but also for Beastmen as well. On Cathay's side, Righteous Lances did their best to try and hold off the advances of the Beastmen. The Empress Croman also. I mean, they pay for themselves. The Jade Lancers had a little bit of a tougher time. They're very similar to Empire Knights, and Centaur's Great Weapons are specific counter for them, even though they didn't necessarily directly counter them here. Just the combination of them plus the Pestigors, there was a lot of AP and a meanness flying around, and not to mention, of course, Flocks of Doom also great for taking out cavalry units like Jade Lancers. But overall, fun battle. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you do like this sort of content, Be sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you will be notified. Thank you once again for watching. We'll see you next time.